R1 here. Welcome to Virtual Realms. Ray and I are on a little expedition down south. We're scouting out a potential new base location. I have come to call it the Mysterious Island, as it forms part of the weird geology directly beneath the Red Obelisk. I've been here before, when I was working on the now abandoned Sarco Falls resort, and had slapped up a couple of crude gates to make the circular waters underneath the obelisk into a sort of marina. And it served that purpose quite admirably, and I believe I still have a few tamed aquatic mounts prowling around in its depths. Hopefully they still remember me, and hopefully they haven't gotten too hungry in my absence. They say the best enclosure to keep sharks and other long-distance swimmers in is a circular one. So this eerie, donut-shaped lagoon is the perfect size and shape to house a number of these large citizens of the deep. Granted, the alien artifacts embedded in the rock give the lagoon a surrealistic feel, but I'm sure it doesn't bother these creatures at all. Why, hello, big girl. You're not hungry, are you? Fortunately, she's not, but I think it's time to head to the surface anyway. This place suits my purposes perfectly. The small, unique island is separated by water from most threats, and the lagoon is perfect for the underwater facilities I intend to construct, among other things. Granted, the sight of the Red Obelisk hovering ominously over fang-like peaks is a bit daunting, but I think with a few personalized touches I can make this place into a fine home. Well, I've made sure the lagoon is still a safe and secure location for aquatic steeds and watercraft. However, the same cannot be said for the deep ocean waters that lie just outside its sheltering gates. Yeah, no. Fighting a couple of megalodons on a stingray is not my idea of a party. But fortunately, I don't have to. Ray is both fast and maneuverable, and few things in the Ark's oceans can hope to catch him if he doesn't want to be caught. It's time to head back to my treetop city of Arborea to make preparations to return with enough materials to build a proper base on this mysterious little island. And while I'm at it, I want to get an aerial view of the neighboring Crags Island chain to the south. I have plans for future large-scale projects on those islands as well. Now don't worry, I'm not abandoning Arborea. In fact, I've made quite a few improvements since the last time you saw it, when I had these rather crude stone walls and pillars protecting the perimeter of the central compound. They made for a crude but effective barrier against the dangers of the rest of the redwood biome. However, I got tired of them after a while. They looked a little too roughshod for me, so I decided to replace them. In the end, I decided to go with adobe instead, and I think the color and texture of these new walls and gates matches the aesthetic of the rest of the redwood biome quite nicely. While I was at it, I decided to finally get around to making that permanent pathway for my animal companions to travel back and forth from the city whenever they like. And then finally, to finish off the rest of my major improvements, I decided to make a new landing pad and a new airship construction yard. Because I had some issues that I was going to have to resolve. While I love Arborea, after all, it's a magical place, having all these platforms and the rest of the buildings that make up the city in this one small area puts an awful lot of strain on my recording equipment. And when you combine that with the large amount of animal life wandering freely around the city and grounds proper, well, it can lead to some serious frame rate issues. And for some of the building videos and certain mod showcases that I want to do, I need to solve that problem. And frankly, for some of those videos, I simply need more space. So one dark and stormy night, I finally broke down and admitted to myself that I needed to find an alternate base location. Not to replace Arborea, but rather to supplement it. I needed an interesting location with varied terrain, one with plenty of space nearby to create large builds and to do intricate mod showcases without as many technical difficulties slowing me down. Well, with that decision made to move, I found myself contemplating taking my SteamPunk balloon Prometheus to travel to that location and start the initial build, but while Prometheus has served me well, I decided it was a bit too small for the task. Ideally, I needed a flying vessel with a generous cargo capacity, and preferably the ability to land safely on both solid ground and on the water if necessary. That's why, as I was doing my other improvements to Arborea, I added that separate airship construction facility to justify, in my own way, bringing a vessel into this series that was a little more appropriate for the tasks ahead. And thus was born the Poseidon. She's actually part of the Conquer the Seas mod, which we'll probably be taking a closer look at in future videos, and she's perfect for what I have in mind. For the moment, she's simply going to serve to get myself and some building materials safely to the new base location, but I'm sure we'll have a great many Poseidon adventures in the near future. The engines fire up smoothly and soon we lift off, leaving Arborea behind for the time being. Moments later, we'll find ourselves on station high above what will soon be our new home away from home. I think I'm going to start with a tower build. A modern, high-tech tower built directly into that fang of rock and alien technology jetting upward from the island. If I don't screw this up, it should look pretty good sitting underneath the obelisk overhead. First things first though, let's bring the Poseidon in for a safe landing. Well, that actually went better than expected. I had had this nagging feeling that the first time I landed the Poseidon on water, I'd end up flipping her upside down or something. Silly, huh? Okay, that's more than enough jaw-jacking on my part. Now the serious work begins. I'm not going to bore you with a building montage. Instead, I think I'll just bring you back when I have the basics of the new tower in place. So this is what I came up with. My new tech tower base on Mysterious Island. Using elements of the Structures and Platforms Plus mods for the basic structure, as well as components from the newly released tech tier, I have hopefully created the illusion of a base that blends our newly discovered technology smoothly with the existing alien technology built into the island spire itself. Obviously, the tower is still largely unfinished, with plenty of room left to get creative with the various distinct sections of the tower, such as the area temporarily serving as a mooring platform for Poseidon. This rear area, with its bridge over to the transfer platform, is going to serve a very important function as well, but I'll show you that in just a minute. Inside the tower itself, due to its architecture, the main way of traveling from one floor to another are with the tech tier ladders. The ground floor of the tower is surprisingly narrow, but it does feature this handy deck area, which is low enough to the ground to pull a Bronto or a Parasaur up next to it to easily unload materials. The east and west wing areas are currently large open spaces that I'm going to try and fill with constructs and natural touches designed to give the interior a more organic look and feel. Hopefully I can find a way to make the interior appear to be warm, yet still classy, and avoid an overly cold and technological feel to all but a few spaces in the tower. As I hinted at earlier, the rear section that wraps all the way around the rocky spire is actually going to be a very important area of the base. Via tech ladders, it's going to provide me with quick and easy access to and from the undersea base that I plan to construct down in the lagoon, so very far below. A practical yet elegant solution to the problem of efficiently linking the two very different areas of the base together. Tuxford in particular seems to be very happy with this design decision on my part, and is already making himself very much at home. I've made a conscious decision to keep the various size doors that I use to access the island itself as inobtrusive as possible from the outside, at least as far as all the ones at ground level are concerned. While most of the other floors are in place already, I've only really had time to start fleshing out the two levels I considered most important to start with. This one is the flight deck, which has plenty of room for a variety of flying creatures, and it sports a teleportation pad in the center. I have to say, the view from up here is phenomenal. The last area that I've been able to put some detail work into so far is perhaps the most important of all. It's Tiny Viking's personal quarters. There is obviously a tremendous amount of work left to be done making the interior as cozy and warm as I want it to eventually be. But I have managed to complete what I consider to be the best feature of her quarters, her own personal balcony garden. Complete with resident exotic proto-birds, they were as close as I could get to actual peacocks, and her own 2 pet jerboas, I've tried to create a space that she would be happy to call her very own. Nothing's too good for Ranger's little girl. So that's the tour so far, but there's still a lot more to come. I need to name this place too. I admit I briefly considered calling it Stank Tower, but no. I think I'd like to try and keep it classy. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. And I admit I'm a bit torn as to whether to focus on fleshing out the tower in this next building episode, or whether to get straight into creating the undersea section itself. I guess it'll just have to be a surprise. Until then, my friends, good hunting.